How do you do? Jen and Cam feel it would be unkind to present this program without a friendly word of warning. We are about to unfold our true crime podcast, a podcast of lifelong friends who seek to examine crimes which were committed without reckoning upon God. The discussion will be frank, and the subject matter will be of a grim and violent nature. I think it will thrill you. It might even horrify you. So, if there are young children listening, or if you feel unwilling to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Cam. How are ya?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I am great and looking forward to the spring break from school. That's going to be so awesome. It's coming up on the 29th.
I'm over the moon about it. I can't even tell you. And I don't think I've ever needed a break more than I do now. So I cannot wait.
It's been a hell of a school year, hasn't it?
This year has been like 5 years long. It really has.
I agree.
I can't even remember pre-pandemic. Let's put it that way. And that was a year ago.
I know.
So,
I'm so ready to be out and about. You've got your shot already. It all went well. I'm happy to hear.
And my next one, I get over spring break. My second one.
Well, I am still looking for my email. Hopefully that'll come shortly.
My mom, who's 82, she did not have one iota of a reaction. Nothing.
Not even sore arm or anything?
Nothing. She's like that. And she goes, I knew I wouldn't. I'm tough. And I'm like, I know, Mom,
is
but
she hasn't had her second shot, though, yet, has she?
Yeah. No, the second one. Nothing. Yeah, she's done. She had her last shot on Tuesday. And so then on Wednesday, I was like, how are you? It was like 5:30 in the morning because I thought for sure she'd kind of be feeling badly.
Yeah,
nope,
because
nothing.
Some people at least get muscle aches.
Nope, nothing. And my friends that are my age or even a little bit younger that have had it, they said it was just like kind of like a mild flu, kind of achy for the next day, and then they were fine. So my mom, I'm telling you, but she went out and about Saturday. She went out to eat at a restaurant, and
good for her.
Was like, good for you.
She's 82. Yeah. She deserves it. She needs to get out and about and have fun.
That's right. So
good for her. Yeah, she is a tough cookie. So I'm glad to hear that she did so well.
Yep. I was a little worried, but
yeah, my doctor was talking to me about it, and she said that her nurse was just kind of achy, but then she, on her second, for like 14 hours, she felt like she had the flu.
Yeah. It's something, let me tell you. Okay, here we go. You ready? Today, we're going to Riverton, Wyoming, and the date is September 12th, 1980. 32-year-old Virginia Uden and her two boys, her two sons, 11-year-old Richard and 10-year-old Reagen, left for a day of fun. And when the night came, sun went down, they still weren't home. Virginia's mother, Claire Martin, started getting a bad feeling. She knew something wasn't right because Virginia just wasn't like that. She was very responsible. Claire had expected her home, and she was not home. As Claire is starting to talk this all over with her friend, I'm kind of thinking they should be home by now. Should I call the police? There's a knock at the door. Claire goes and opens the door and is shocked to see it's Gerald Uden. Now, Gerald is Virginia's ex-husband and stepfather to the two boys. Gerald seems upset and angry and explains to Claire that Virginia and the boys were supposed to show up that day to hang out with him. They were going to go to his farmland, some land he had, and do some bird watching, and they never showed up. So Gerald wasn't real happy, and he had come there because he assumed Virginia had went to Claire's house, and I guess he was basically going to, kind of let her have it because he was angry that they never had shown up. So now Claire's really upset, and she knows something is not right. Claire wants to call the police immediately, but Gerald tries to calm her down and agrees to take her out, and they're going to drive around, and they're going to look for them. Maybe they ran out of gas and they're on the side of the road, or maybe their car broke down. You just never know. After they drive around for a little while and they never find them, Claire demands that they go and inform police that Virginia and the boys have gone missing. When day breaks, police head out to Gerald's farm to take a look around and try to find out some more information. Gerald informs the police that he and Virginia had met in 1974. Virginia inherited a gun from her grandfather, and she had come out to talk to him because she was hoping it was worth some money. She had made an appointment with Gerald Uden to examine the gun, as he would appraise guns as a side hustle, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The gun ended up being worth nothing, but the meeting was not for nothing. The two of them hit it off, and they soon started dating. Gerald was kind of your manly man. He liked the outdoors, fishing, hunting, getting your hands dirty, and all that kinds of stuff. And he was not only nice to Virginia, but he adored the two boys. He really did care for them. He actually stepped into the role of being a good role model for them because the biological father just didn't have much to do with them. So when Gerald decided he wanted to marry Virginia, the boys were actually just as excited as the new couple. Now, the excitement wouldn't last that long. As Gerald said, he believed that they both just rushed into it too fast. They'd divorced, but remained friendly, and Gerald continued to share custody of the boys, even paying Virginia child support for them, since their biological father, Jack Beard, wasn't in the picture at all. Now, a year later, Gerald would marry again to a woman named Alice Uden. After the police finished talking to Gerald, they asked him, hey, can we take a quick look around? We want to search farm a little bit. And he says, of course, gives them permission because, he's as desperate to find them as the police and Claire. Officers comb over the land and find nothing that would shed light on what happened to Virginia and the boys. This is a crazy story.
I'm hoping Gerald doesn't have anything to do with it.
A week passes when Virginia's mom, Claire, receives an anonymous letter in the mail. The letter seems to have been written by Virginia, informing her she was in some sort of trouble, and she and the boys took off for Pennsylvania, and they're going to stay gone for a while. Now, at first, Claire, she's relieved, thinking, okay, good, they're alive, they ran off, but they're safe. Then Claire I think it sinks in a little bit that she realizes, this is not like her daughter at all. Her daughter and her were very close. She would never run off to Pennsylvania and say she was in trouble without discussing this first. Mm-hmm. Now, that was just one thing. There was also a phone call that came. It was about the same time, and it was a female voice and saying it was that they knew Virginia, and Virginia was fine and everything was good. It was very strange. But we'll get to those in a minute.
Okay. So you're saying that she got a call from an anonymous female, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. On October 4th, 1980, police find an abandoned station wagon. Now, the car had been pushed off the side of a cliff. The car had a rag sticking out of the gas tank as if it was going to be set on fire, but had not ever been lit. In the back of the wagon, a deputy finds a bloody tarp, almost like a blanket covered in blood, and there were blood smears on the inside of the door. The blood was determined to be type A, which is the same type as Virginia. Now remember, this is 1980, so DNA wasn't a thing yet. The best they could do is, would it be the same type blood of the person that was missing? The car was kind of hidden as what it looked like somebody threw it over the cliff and then went to try to throw stuff on it and hide it a little bit. Because I'm guessing they were going to set it on fire and then it didn't take. Or
they tried to put the cloth on fire from the gas tank and it went out or something. Yeah.
Yes. The car would turn out to be Virginia's. So all of this means that Virginia did not go to Pennsylvania and she did not write that letter. It's all becoming clear that something happened to the family, at least Virginia. Now, hope is still strong that the boys are out there somewhere. Due to the day, in 1980, technology, of course, is not like what it is today. And there was basically no other evidence that they could collect other than the blood from the station wagon. They didn't have the hair DNA and all that stuff, so that was out. The investigators then decide to pay a visit to the boys' biological father, Jack Beard. Now, Jack tells officers that he didn't see the boys anymore, but that really wasn't his choice. Virginia basically kind of demanded it. Now, Jack was adamant that he had nothing to do with it, and he was at work when they disappeared. His alibi was confirmed, and Jack Beard is eliminated as a suspect in the disappearance. The case stalls for a bit, that is until one day in January 1981, when Gerald Uden storms into the police station. Gerald has a wild story for officers. Gerald informs them that somebody has been stalking him and watching him, and he even has a threatening letter that was delivered to him.
It's suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Gerald claims that somebody from the Wind River tribe was after him, saying that he was being harassed. Basically, the note said something to the effect of, "We know what you did. We're watching you." It was a little vague, but okay. Police head over to the Wind River Reservation, and they talk to all the residents, and the residents, they have no idea they don't know Gerald. They have no idea what they're talking about. So at this point, the case stalls. In 1982, Gerald, Alice, and Alice's daughter, Erica, decide to move back to where Alice grew up. Now, the time was right as Gerald had just been laid off from his job at the steel mines out in Wyoming. Now, do you want to guess what state they moved to, Jen?
Denial?
Oh, you'd think. That's a river.
No, Jen. I'm bad at geography.
It's okay. You should know this, but okay. That is right. They decided to move back to Chadwick, Missouri.
Ooh, nice.
Now, Chadwick is up near the Springfield area, for those of you that are curious. And yeah, I looked it up because I had no idea. I'd never heard of it either. The family buys an old barn and they launch a trucking business that actually turns into quite a nice company, makes a good profit. As months turn into years, Claire is getting more and more desperate to find out what happened to her only daughter and only grandchildren. Claire even hired a psychic who visited the site where the car was located. Now, the psychic didn't do much good, but the psychic claimed that their bodies would be found in water, such as a lake or stream. Police go and search all the areas nearby that had water, but they come up empty-handed.
That breaks my heart because, when you go to the psychic, you're just you're desperate, You're reaching for any type of answer.
You really are. Mm-hmm. It's awful.
You just want to hear something, just any information, whether it's real or not.
Well, I'm glad you say something about hearing something, because here we go. 12 years pass, Jen.
Cow.
12. I'm telling you that this case is over, I think it's about a 30-year period. I don't do math, something like that. So 12 years pass when a tip comes in about the murder. But not this murder, another case. A murder case that no one even knew happened. Dun, dun, dun. In November 1992, a man walks into the police station and he says he has some information that he thinks is relevant to the Uden case. The man tells the officer that in August of 1974, his mom was a nurse and had met an Army vet by the name of Ronald Holtz. She was his nurse, to be exact, and he was in the psych ward of a VA hospital. The two became fast friends, and when Ronald was released, the two started dating. It wasn't too long before they would actually get married. The young man went on to say that the marriage was not a good one, and it was, in fact, violent. Ronald was not a nice man, and he had a bit of a drinking problem, and he even hit his mom a time or two. The man continues, saying that his mother confided in him a story, and he's never told another living soul until right now. He tells the deputy that one night his mom, she grew tired of all the abuse, and when Ron was passed out drunk, she took a .22 rifle and shot him in the head. She put Ron's body in a barrel and tossed him down a mine shaft, claiming no one would ever find his body. She told all the relatives that he had just run off, and strangely enough, nobody even questioned it.
He must have been a son of a bitch if nobody questioned that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're just kind of like, oh, that's too bad.
The mom?
I can't say I blame her, though. I really can't blame her.
Yeah. This man's mom is none other than Alice Uden, Gerald's wife. Ronald Holtz was Alice's third husband. Gerald would be her fourth.
Oh, this case is getting good.
It's a twisted tale. And you know what? Nobody would have found that man. Nobody would have ever found Ronald. And wait till you hear where this goes. Hold on. Put your seatbelt on, Jen. Here we go.
I got it.
The police now have a way in, but they need to investigate further to find out if, in fact, Ron did not just leave that weekend, but was murdered. Police call the Laramie County Sheriff's Department and fill them in on the case. They orchestrate a search and decide to take a look at the place where Alice used to work, when she would have been dating Ron, thereabouts. She was in her 20s, right? Mm-hmm. And the name of it is Raymont Ranch. Now, the ranch has a mine shaft on the property, and police wonder if this could be the very mine shaft where Ron was dropped. This is where she would put him. This would prove way more difficult than you would think, and I'm sure than they thought. The shaft was actually a dumping ground for animals who had died on the farm. So if a buffalo could no longer shuffle, down the shaft it went. A chicken flew south, if you know what I mean, down the shaft. So there were tons and tons of bones down there. So many, in fact, it would take a lot of hard work and a lot of digging. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
15 years to be exact before they would hit pay dirt. They finally hit some human bones, including a skull with a bullet hole in it. And when they sent it to the coroner, it was determined to be the skeletal remains of Ronald Holtz. Now, can you believe that? They had people digging in that hole for 15 years.
Wow.
To get to that. And I guess it's deep, but every time an animal died, they put the animal down there and it would decay. And so it was like lots and lots of layers of dirt and debris and bones and ugh.
And I can only imagine, when I think of abandoned mine shafts, I think of like very unsecure, almost
it's like a hole.
Dangerous. Well, I know, but dangerous to go down, like rickety, and you don't want to spend a lot of time down there, and could be dangerous. The whole thing could collapse on you. Yeah. They'd want to take their time to go through it.
Yeah, they took their time, 15 years. Poor guys. Okay, here we go. They know it's time to bring Alice Uden in for questioning. And at this point in time now, she is 74 years old. Alice is shown a photo of Ron Holtz, and she denies knowing who that is. I don't know. I have no idea who that is. The officer tells her, that's Ronald Holtz. That was your husband. She's all shocked. I saw the video of this. She's all shocked, and she's like, oh, that's Ron. I didn't even recognize him.
Well, it's been years. She's older now, right?
Even if you're married 4 times, I think you'd probably remember what your husbands look like. You know what I'm saying?
You would think so.
Then they show Alice a photo of the skull with the bullet hole in it. Officer informs her that this is Ron too. This is Ron's skull, and they know that she killed him. Her response? Absolutely. That's all she said. So she tells them that Ron was violent and abusive, and it was the final straw the one night when he threatened to kill Erica. I guess he was drinking, kind of passed out, and he said, if you don't shut her up, I'm going to shut her up. I'm going to kill her, basically. So she waited until he passed out and put the rifle to the back of his head and pulled the trigger. Okay.
Sounds like a sweet man.
Next up, they ask her if she has any information about the 1980 disappearance of Virginia, Richard, and Reagen Uden. Alice Uden then claims that she has no idea what happened to them, nor was she involved in any way. So Gerald's out of town at this time. He's actually trucking with the business. And so he beelines it back to get to Alice to get home. But he has a little surprise waiting for him at his house. The FBI. This time they have a little plan, because at this point we're talking 30 years, give or take. The officers tell Gerald that Alice has been arrested, but not for the death of Ronald Holtz, but for the disappearance of Virginia and the boys. What? So they kind of fibbed a little bit? I mean, is that fibbing? It kind of is. Gerald seems genuinely shocked that she was arrested because she had absolutely nothing to do with it. In fact, it was him. It was Gerald who was responsible, and Alice was not involved at all. Bam! It worked. The police got what they needed. Gerald tells police the entire story of what happened that day. He tells them on that particular day, he told Virginia to bring the boys out to the farm for a day of bird watching. Times have changed, haven't they? If I told my kids we were going bird watching, they'd be like, forget it, I'm staying home. Right? And these boys like were super excited. Horns. Gerald had brought along his pistol, and he had planned to use that pistol to kill all 3 of them. However, he was pleasantly surprised when Virginia brought along her rifle. She brought it out there to, target shoot, practice, whatever. So Gerald is thrilled because now he's going to use her rifle to kill them, meaning that his gun is not, it will be further distanced from him. Gerald states that they all got out of the car with the boys, of course, running ahead because they're anxious and excited to birdwatch.
As boys are.
Yes. Gerald was barely out of the car when he paused so Virginia could get slightly ahead of him. He took the rifle and shot her in the back of the head, and she fell to the ground. The boys, who I'm sure were confused and scared, scattered. One ran one way, the other one ran the other. Gerald then pointed the rifle and shot Richard in the back of the head. Reagen, who was the baby, the younger one, 10 years old, started running, and during that, he tripped. Gerald walked up to the boy as he lay on the ground and shot him once. After they were all dead, Gerald loaded them in the back of the station wagon. So that was their blood in the back.
Bastard.
Gerald then states he drove them out to the mines and dumped their body into the mines. Gerald wasn't finished just yet. Now, this is chilling. It gave me a little chill because I always wonder how close we are to death and we just don't know it. Remember at the beginning of the episode when I said that Gerald swung by Claire's house to see if Virginia was at home? Well, he knew Virginia wasn't at home because he already killed her.
Obviously, yeah.
He had actually come there to kill Claire as well. And Gerald said he went there to kill her, but he decided not to since her friend, who had just had a baby, was there visiting. And here's a quote for you. This is what he said. Quote, "I just lost my stomach for I've done enough killing for one goddamn week." That's what he told police. Yeah, that was in the interrogation.
Week. All right.
Because he killed,
3 poor sons.
That he loved. He really did love those boys.
Then why?
I'm glad you asked that, Jen, because here we go.
I don't understand.
But what drove Gerald to do this? Gerald explains that Virginia didn't treat him very well, and Alice hated her. One day, Alice told him that something had to give. Something had to stop. She was tired of this. She was tired of Gerald paying for the boys that weren't even his. She was tired of Virginia calling, and Gerald would jump and go take care of things for her. So Gerald claims that, he, too, just got tired of dealing with it all. So he decided, I'm going to put an end to it today. It stops. Gerald Uden pled guilty to the murders of Virginia, Richard, and Reagen Uden. Gerald maintained at the trial that Alice had nothing to do with any of it. Gerald received life in prison. Gerald claims that he moved their bodies from the mine a little bit later, and he put them in barrels and dropped them in Fremont Lake in Sublette County.
So the psychic was right.
Several searchers have attempted to find the bodies, and to this day, none of them have been recovered. Not Virginia, not Richard, or Reagen. Still.
Wow.
In August 2014, Alice stands trial for the murder of Ronald Holtz. She receives a life sentence as well. Claire Martin died in 2013, never seeing justice for the death of her daughter and grandchildren. And that, my friend Jen, is the story of the Uden murders.
How cold.
Oh, wait. Nope. There's more. Hold on.
Oh.
There's more to the story.
This just in.
This just in. Alice Uden passed away at the age of 80 on June 12th, 2019. That was just not too long ago. And with her death, more questions soon come to light. So she
was almost like a gangster, wasn't she?
Here, check this out. Oh, here you go. So there's an author by the name of Ron Franscell, and I could have sworn he's from St. Louis, but he's not. He was writing a book called Alice and Gerald, a homicidal love story. And he was writing a book about the couple, and he was actually talking to Gerald. So he's writing a book on them, and Gerald had sent 2 letters to Ron. One before Alice passed away, and one dated the day after her death. In each of the letters, Gerald revealed, I guess the only way he could say it, a shocking twist. Gerald retracted his previous admission of guilt, saying it was actually Alice that murdered Virginia and the boys.
What?
Because he loved her. He took the blame for her. So in the first letter to Ron, I'm quoting this because this is actually from the letter, and Gerald said it, but from Ron, I guess, in the book. So the first letter states, "After agonizing over my decision, I have decided to come clean and tell you that Virginia and the boys are not in Fremont Lake. And in fact, I don't know where they are. I did not ask Alice if she killed them or where they are buried. If anyone asks her, she will deny it, and if she has any sense, she will claim I did, in fact, do what I said I did. She will hate me for trying to throw her under the bus, but now you are faced with the dilemma. Who to believe, therefore creating reasonable doubt. So with that first letter, right, Gerald is trying to prove that there is a little reasonable doubt and that he should not be in jail. Now, Alice was still alive at this time. Here comes the second letter. The second letter is dated, like I said, the day after she died. Quote, Dear Ron, just a note, you will be pleased to know that the murderess, Alice Uden, has passed on to the next life, 6/12/19 at 0800 hours. I was never allowed to see her at the Wyoming Medium Correctional Facility in Tarrington, Wyoming. And in some ways, it is just as well. It is kind of like a great weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I am now free to seek total exoneration, which I intend to do, and I don't have to feel guilty about it. I don't know if the courts will hear my case since there was a plea agreement, but if I don't try, I will end up dying here. I asked her to take ownership of Don Protease, which is Alice's second husband, who allegedly died of alcoholism complications, and Virginia and the boys, but she refused. So Alice has a lot of skeletons down that mine shaft, let me tell you.
Wow, but we'll never know.
We will never know, and that is the case of the Udens, and I just...
Alice basically was probably a serial killer. That's interesting.
What happened to her first husband? I couldn't even find that. I mean, I gotta be honest, I didn't really look real hard, but because I was more interested in what was taking place at the, but still.
Most women don't kill by guns, right? It's more, they're poisoners. Mm-hmm. But I guess there's always exceptions to the rules, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I'm
picturing her as this tough old Wyoming homesteader.
Gerald was 6 years younger than her. To me, they just didn't really look like they went together. But I could be wrong.
Maybe she scared him into dating her.
Probably.
Her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm going to have to look up pictures of Alice now.
Yes, you should. And this is the same thing. I always have to wonder if you kill one person. So like Ron Holtz, maybe he really was abusive. There was some debate on that too, because they were saying, if she would have shot him while he was alive, while he was awake and not passed out.
I was going to say.
Meaning that he had just threatened the daughter, that would almost make more sense. But she didn't. She waited till he went to sleep and then shot him. So technically, that's really not self-defense because he was passed out drunk.
Yes. Huh. Well, now I'm curious.
But then also I have to think with Virginia, why would Virginia take her two boys to go meet up with Alice, your ex-husband's wife? That's bizarre too. And then the boy
Unless it had something to do with the boys, like she was going to take the boys to see their father? But
out in the farmland? I don't know. This is weird. Somebody's lying. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's obvious, yeah. Mm-hmm, but no, there could be a bunch of excuses. Mm-hmm, maybe she just got a call to, maybe somebody else helped set it up. Maybe Gerald was really in on it. Alice actually killed them, but Gerald was in on it.
You talk about that, though, right? If your ex-wife and her children die, aren't you going to talk to your spouse about that? How do you feel? What happened? When did you see him last? Well, I'm pretending like Alice was not involved in it, right? I think she knew. So there was an interview with the daughter, Erica. And so Todd Scott, which cracks me up because that was my old boss's name, but Todd Scott was her son from...
Alice's son or Erica's son?
Alice's son. So Todd Scott was the one that came in and told police about, I have information about a murder, but not that murder. It's about the murder
of Holtz.
Right. And so I believe that kid was from her first marriage, and then Erica was from Prunty. And then, let's see here, and then Ron Holtz Erica was the little girl that Ron was threatening to kill. And then Gerald was number 4. But Gerald and Alice raised Erica. That was the only dad she ever knew. And she gave a heartfelt interview saying she knows that they should be there. She knows that what they did was wrong, but that's not the people she ever knew. And that got me thinking about how it really would be strange if your parents brutally murdered people, but yet raised you as a loving child.
Right. Had two
as a loving
different
parent.
personalities.
Mm-hmm. There's
interesting.
The story, but the book is called Gerald and Alice, A Homicidal Love Story. It came out in 2019. You can get it on Amazon. Ron Frazel. He's written a couple books. If you knew, let's go with your husband. Let's call him Steve. If you knew Steve killed his other wife, wouldn't you kind of sleep with like one eye open maybe? Like just kind of apparently never did. And they always, like Erica was like, my parents were so in love. They loved each other. And they did. They stuck together all that time.
Maybe they were both in on it, and Gerald's just trying to throw Alice under the bus now that she's dead.
And he's like right 76 or 78, something like that. You know, and it's like...
I mean, they're in prison. They can't see each other anymore. He knows she's 6 years older than him. Mm-hmm. He knows that she's dying. Well, but he knows that she's dying. So, of course, he's going to write a letter and say, you know what? This is my chance to get out. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say... I don't know what happened. I think Alice did it all on her own, or I know, you know, and now that she's dead, I really have a chance because she can't come back and say,
back at me. Yep.
Right. So
and it's sort of, he was smart enough to put in there at the very last line? This is reasonable doubt. And it does, because if the jury would hear this, or they would, you know, you have to think
so
about
you're
it.
on the jury and you hear this, you hear him now claim it was all her. But she's dead. She can't speak for herself. What do you think? You have a man in prison for killing his family.
Well, I do think it's telling that he said that he put the bodies in the mine shaft, and then he said that he put them in the lake, and they searched, I think it was 13 different searches of that lake looking for them and never could find them. Now, it's 3 bodies, and I believe he said he put them in barrels. It wasn't just one body, right? There's 3. You would think that something would be located on one of those searches. So that kind of tells me that they're not there. Well, if they're not there, at this point, you're already in, I don't know. I don't know why killers do. I was going to say, why wouldn't you just say where they are? But they never do anyway, so I don't. That's me being a nice, non-homicidal person.
But still, if I was on the jury and the killer would come back and say, oh, it's this dead person, they really did it. It wasn't me. I don't think I would. It might be reasonable doubt, but...
I think you need to look into her second husband that supposedly died from alcoholism. And then the kid saying, I mean, not the kid, the husband, the now husband is saying, I tried to get her to confess to that as well as Virginia, and she wouldn't do it. That's a little telling.
Who do you believe, a dead person or a... I don't know. I don't know if I could... You have to look at it as what I'm saying. Like, that should be further investigated, too. I don't know if I would believe him, to be quite honest. I'm glad I'm not on the jury. I'm glad it doesn't have to come to fruition right now. Because I don't know if I could let him out, because chances are good that he at least knew about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you would have to have some sort of information.
Aiding and abetting, at least. He deserves to be in prison, but for me, I believe.
I agree. I do.
Interesting. I might have to look up that book and read into it a little bit.
I also think it's very that they dug in that mine shaft for 15 plus years. That's dedication. But I guess they really did. They needed to prove that to get to the other thing. So,
right.
Which, you know, if you're a detective and you know you're right, I know me and I know you. I like to be right, and so do you. So if I really thought that was happening, I would be digging in there till the day I died if I really thought I was right. And obviously...
I'm sure it took that long, too, because they had to do it on their free time. They couldn't do it on the taxpayer's dollar.
And they brought out, what do you call it? Archaeologist. Is it archaeologist? Yeah. They brought out somebody like that to be on site to see if it, you know, is this an animal bone? Is this a human bone or whatever?
Right. Yep. Fun times. Fun times at the old Wyoming mine shaft.
The mine shafts are just scary. That's scary to me. So, Jen, that's it. Do we have any promos?
Yes, we have our friends Lindsay and Jennifer from Corpus Delicti this week.
Oh, yeah, we know them, don't we? We met them.
Aren't they sweet? They're
we met them.
We met them at the
Crime Con.
No, not Crime Con.
Chicago.
In Chicago at the Podcasters.
That's right. Where we met
so
Joel.
Sweet.
From Florida men, too.
Sweet women. I believe they're starting an in-depth case this coming month. So that should be very interesting to listen to.
Okay, Jen. Well, I guess that's it for us here in good old Missouri.
OTCP?
OTCP, you know me. Until next time, Jen, remember, lock your doors.
Keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico and Dick Bain. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production.
Here in Alabama, a man named Robin Rocky Myers sits on death row, where he's been since 1993 after being convicted of capital murder. His appeals have run out, and he's awaiting an execution date. There's just one major problem. Rocky might be innocent.
Road to Redemption is the new multi-part miniseries on Corpus Delicti. We will take you through his story, the lack of evidence, witness tampering, likely jury bias, overridden sentence, being abandoned by his attorney, and a highly debated intellectual disability. You'll hear from his lawyer, investigator, and others involved in Rocky's fight.
And that's where you come in. We need your help. Rocky's last hope? The governor of Alabama. Join us, Jen and Lindsay, the hosts of Corpus Delicti, as we aim to bring this case to her attention.
Find Corpus Delicti on your favorite podcast app by searching CORPUSDELICTI. Episodes release weekly, so join us on Tuesdays starting March 9th to hear Rocky's story. See you soon.